Hey everybody, Jeremy Hyatt again with Hyatt Training. We're on week 5 of our top 10 tips to doing life better. And this week we're going to talk about something fun. We're going to talk about friendships, social networks, and family time. So we're going to get into a lot of the anecdotal stuff. Again, a little more about what Lee and I do to manage that element of our lives, and a little less about the science of happiness, although we'll share a little bit of that too. So we're glad you're joining us, and looking forward to talking about friendships and family. So as we get into friendships and family and our social networks, there's a couple things that we kind of know. One, that human beings are traditionally pack animals. We feel best when we're in small groups. Science shows that that's 30 to 50 people, but that having people around you, having a community around you is really important. And you've heard the saying that you're kind of the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So who those people are, who that pack is, that really matters. And as we talk about this, I read this quote recently and I wanted to share it with you, kind of on the benefits, the health benefits of friendship. So longevity researcher Dan Buettner on the health benefits of friendship. I argue that the most powerful thing that you can do to add healthy years is to curate your immediate social network. In general, you want friends with whom you can have a meaningful conversation. You can call on them on a bad day and they will care. Your group of friends are better than any drug or anti-aging supplement and will do more for you than just about anything. I think that's really important, and I think for me, one of the best examples of this in my life is my mother, who is moving with great grace through her 70s, is still an active walker and tennis player, and she travels extensively, and all of that surrounds her friendships. She has a lot of friends, and they mean a lot to her, and vice versa. And I think that's one of her big secrets. It's a great example for me as I get older to make sure that I'm cultivating those same friendships. It's not always easy, and it takes planning, but it's well worth it. So let's talk about some strategies to get that done. We talked early on in this segment about my family being my why for doing life better. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the strategies that our family uses to stay connected on a day in and day out basis. So one of the things that has always been a priority for us is that we're all together for at least one meal a day. So for us, that's dinner. For you, that might be breakfast. Those tend to be the easiest to have everyone on the same schedule. But it's a priority for us all to be home for dinner. And that we sometimes sacrifice work, we sometimes sacrifice sports, we sometimes, there are things, you can't do everything, but that's been a priority for us since day one. Another thing that Lee and I have both tried to do is be really involved with our kids' lives growing up. So for me, that's been volunteering through coaching sports, sports that I know very well, like soccer, and sports that I know nothing about, like baseball, but it's important to be there on the field with the kids as they're growing up. And for Lee, that's been volunteering at the schools. So she's been a member of the PTA since the kids started school. She's always volunteered in the classroom. And for both of us, we've learned a lot about our kids' friends, our kids' friends' parents, and we've developed these amazing social networks based on kind of common interests and just the school sports thing. And then another thing is that we have very kind of sacred bedtime rituals. So it has looked roughly the same, although bedtime is pushed back a little bit as we've gotten older. It's looked very similar, from dinner to getting ready for bed to going to bed has looked pretty much the same the whole lives of my kids. And it's important to have things that you can predict and count on and rely on as you're kind of navigating your family life. Because if you don't, those things tend to slide by the wayside and you wake up and they've been gone for way too long. So having it planned and keeping that time really held sacred has been super important for us. COVID has kind of introduced this idea of the bubble. And so I'm going to talk about friendships kind of in that bubble terminology. And while it's not about necessarily keeping you safe in this case, it is about having those people around you that you trust and feel comfortable with and really rely on and know that they can rely on you as well. So friendships, just like anything that we're going to talk about with health and wellness, it takes planning. It doesn't just happen. So you have to be willing to initiate it. And you have to put the work in to make those things happen. So scheduling time with friends, I think, is really important. Just like anything else, if it's not on your schedule, you're going to prioritize other things that may seem like they're more immediate needs, But having that social network, I'm going to argue, is an immediate need, and it's a daily need, and you have to have those connections with people. So schedule it. Find times with friends that you can count on week in and week out. We have our in-laws over for dinner every Sunday night, and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to find time. It's always there. And so I think that kind of stuff is important. Joining clubs or groups of people that might have like-minded individuals in it. So if you're new to town or haven't lived here your whole life and don't have a big social network but have an interest in the theater or paddleboarding or something like that, there's so many opportunities. And then even, I had a client who was talking to me the other day who speaks to a friend of hers on a regular basis through Marco Polo, which is an app that you can leave these long video messages. They have a hard time scheduling time because they both have these busy lives, but they spend time talking to each other when it's convenient for them, and the other person can listen to it when it's convenient for them. And they have these intense, deep, meaningful conversations, but they do it through technology. So it doesn't always have to be face-to-face. You may have to find creative ways to make those connections, but there are ways to make those connections, and they're incredibly important. Thanks again for joining us on episode 5 of Doing Life Better. We talked about friendships and family, and hopefully it gives you some tips on ways that you can enhance that really important aspect of being your best, of doing life better. Next week, we're going to get into another fun topic. We're going to talk about recreation and how to kind of schedule that, plan that, make that fit into the rest of your life so that it becomes a priority and you enjoy all the benefits that that can bring. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.